Hello everyone. In this video, I'll be talking about lseek API in UNIX platform. lseek is an API which is used to change the file offset to a different value. First, we'll see what is file offset. Offset means which is just a pointer. Okay, we use this file lseek API to change your file pointer to a different value. Normally, whenever you open any file to perform read or write operation, we'll have a pointer. That pointer will always point at the beginning of the file. So if you want to change that pointer, value, then we can use this lseek API. Okay. The lseek API also allows a process to perform random access of data on any opened file. Since we since we can change the file offset to a different value using lseek, we can easily we can easily access the data on an opened file randomly, right? So we can easily perform random access of any data, meaning you can randomly access any of the data because we have the ability to change the file offset using lseek. So to use this lseek API, what is a prototype? Meaning what is a syntax? This is a prototype of lseek. To use this lseek API, you have to include the header file, important header file, that is unistd.h. lseek is part of this header file, unistd.h. To perform this lseek operation on any opened file, it requires three arguments. One is file descriptor, second argument is position, third argument is whence. Okay, what is this file descriptor? We already discussed this file descriptor. So whenever you open a file, that open function will return the integer value, that is a reference value, that is called as file descriptor value. Because to access any file, the file should have some reference value, right? That reference value is actually called as file descriptor. Okay. The next argument is position. This position is actually a pointer where you have to mention where your pointer should point, which is just a reference location. You have to mention where your pointer should point within your file. Okay. The third argument is whence. Third argument is whence. Whence is one argument which supports three locations or three values. The first one is seek current. Okay, what is the meaning of this seek current is the seek current refers current file pointer address, meaning if you want to start when you mention seek current, it will start it doing its operation, whatever it could be, a read or write operation from the current pointer, wherever your pointer is located. It will start doing its operation from the current pointer. The next one is seek set. Seek set in the sense it refers beginning of the file, meaning it start doing its operation from the beginning of the file. Okay, meaning your pointer will point at the beginning of the file. The next one, seek end, means it refers end of the file, meaning your pointer will point at the end of the file. Sorry, your pointer will point at the end of the file. That is seek end. Okay, so these are the three values for whence. One is seek current. Seek current means it'll start doing its operation from the current pointer, meaning your pointer will point at the current location. The next one is seek set. Seek set means your pointer will point at the beginning of the file. Seek end means pointer will point at the end of the file. Okay, it'll start from the end of the file. So here, if you see, the return type of lseek is of underscore t, which is just a data type, because your lseek returns where the pointer is positioned. Meaning, if your lseek is successful, if your lseek API is successful, it returns where the pointer is positioned. Okay, it returns the offset. That's why the return type of lseek is of underscore t. Okay, so now we'll see this lseek with API with simple program. Okay, here I've created one simple C program for lseek. Okay, where I've included necessary header files, and I've created one main function here. Okay, so where I've just declared two variable just to store file descriptor and the return value, that is fd and fd1, which is of type integer. The next one is I'm just declared one variable, one buffer. The name of that buffer is buf, just to store the data, which is of type char. The next statement is where I've used open API, because to perform a lseek operation, on any of the file, first that file should be opened. So how do you do that? Using open API. For this open API, I'm passing the file name. The file name is result.txt. And I'm opening this file result.txt in read and write mode. Once this file is successfully opened using open API, this open API returns value, integer value, that is a file descriptor value that I'm storing it in fd variable. Okay, so now file is successfully opened. Imagine. Okay, so now I use lseek API to perform random access to change the file offset. So this lseek API requires 3 arguments. First one is file descriptor, second one is position, third one is whence location. So here I'm giving the file descriptor. So this file descriptor is what? On which file you want to perform this lseek. So I'm mentioning the file descriptor of result.txt. Okay, so I'm giving that file descriptor value here, and I've mentioned position value as 5, meaning I want to point my pointer at 5th location. That is the meaning of this. I'm informing my system that to point the pointer at the 5th location of my file. What is my file here? Result.txt. And you have to explicitly mention whether to point from the beginning of the file or at the end of the file or at the current location of the file. So for that, I'm giving one whence location, that is seek set. Seek set means what? At the beginning of the file. Seek set refers beginning of the file. So what does it mean? Point the pointer at the 5th location. That 5th location should be from the beginning of the file, because my whence location is seek set. Whence location is seek set. Okay, then once it's successfully pointed, once this lseek is successfully executed, this lseek returns where the pointer is positioned. Where the pointer is positioned. That value, the return value, will be stored in the variable called fd1. So what could be the return value of this lseek? 5, because my position of what I've given is 5. So the return values will also be 5, because this lseek returns where the pointer is positioned. Here I'm informing to point the pointer at 5th location. So I'm just printing, just to cross verify, I'm just printing the fd value. I'm just printing the fd value. So when I execute this fd value should be 5. Okay, we'll see that output later. Okay, now lseek is done. Now what I'm doing, I'm just calling read and write API just to read the data from the FD. Okay, I'm just reading the data from the FD. Okay, and I'm that storing that in buff variable. Okay, here the third argument is what? How many bytes you want to read? I'm mentioning 10 bytes. So once your data is successfully read using read API, I'm just using write API just to write the data. So here for this write API, again it requires 3 arguments. One is file descriptor, again the location, and size. So here I'm informing my system that write the data on the terminal itself, on the screen itself. So what is so that's why I mentioned 1. 1 means standard output. The the file descriptor for standard output is what? 1. So when I specify 1, then it write the output on the output screen itself. Okay, and I'm giving the location from where you want to access the data. Okay, since I've read the data and I've stored my data in the buffer. Okay, so I'm informing my write API to read the data, to access the data from buff and write it on the screen, that output screen. Okay, how many bytes? That is 10 bytes. And I'm just returning some value. This is a simple program just to demonstrate lseek API. Now we'll execute this lseek program. Let me clear the screen. Here first I'll compile my program using cc lseek.c. So I don't have any errors in my file. I'll run it. So here if you see, it is printing the output saying that pointer is at 5th position, meaning I've given the pointer position, that is 5. So in my program, I have one printf statement where I just wanted to print the pointer where this pointer is located. Pointer is pointed. Okay, so it is just printing the pointer is at 5th location. Okay, so here once this printf statement is done, in my program I have used read API and write API. So what that read API does, it just read the data from the file starting from 5th location. Because I've informed my system that to point at the 5th location. Okay, so it is my read API is reading the data. Okay, reading the data from the location what I mentioned. Okay, and writing the output on the screen itself. Okay, so now if you see, if you just check my result.txt first, because my input for the open API is result.txt. See, this is my file what I've given as a reference. So I've informed my lseek to point at the 5th location. So here, so now that is at the beginning of the file. So it will start pointing the pointer, okay, at the 5th location. So what is my 5th location? That is, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this O is 5th location. So your lseek will point the pointer at the 5th location. Okay, once it is pointed, I've used read API in my program. right? So that read API will read the data, okay, from the file. How many bytes it will read? 10 bytes. Okay, but it'll not start at the 5th location. Instead, it'll start from the 6th location. Okay, so it'll start reading the data from the 6th location, that is ME, and this space is also one character. Then TO again one space, SYS. So if you calculate 10 characters from here, so M is one character, E is second, third, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So it should print till here. So it is printing, it is reading 10 characters, and those 10 characters will be stored in the buff. Again, from that buff, again I'm accessing the data. I'm just writing the data on my screen, that is output screen. Okay, that's what I'm doing in my program. Okay, so if you see here, so the output is also the same thing what we have discussed in the file. So what it is doing, it is just reading the data starting from the 6th location and till 10 bytes and just printing on the screen, output screen. Okay, again I'll just try to open the program. See here, I'm just opening, performing lseek. So we are starting at the, so your lseek is pointing at the 5th location. Okay, so we are not starting from the beginning. Instead, we are randomly accessing, meaning we are informing system to point at the 5th location. So cursor is successfully pointed at the 5th location. Then after that, I'm just printing the printf statement, saying that I'm just trying to print the FD value. FD is what? 5. Okay, here. And I'm just reading the data. Always it'll read the data after 5th. Okay, meaning it'll start from the 6th location. Okay, then I'm just writing. So that's about lseek API. Thank you.